The 2025 Miami Open is underway, and a few teams have won their first tour-level main draw matches. Raducanu was also in action, but she made more headlines with another coaching change. And some sisters got some edgy first-round comeback wins. I'll talk about that, and of course, I gotta discuss the PTPA's lawsuit against the tours and Carlos Alcaraz's interesting response to the lawsuit. Hey, I'm Christian Bassnight, and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you have not already, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell so you are notified whenever I post more Miami Open updates. Starting with the biggest tennis news at the moment, which unfortunately isn't actually, tennis playing related. It is Novak Djokovic co-founded PTPA and their class action lawsuit filed against the ATP WTA, ITF, and the ITIA. The ITIA, if you need a reminder, is the International Tennis Integrity Agency, which oversees doping and other matters like match fixing on the tour. One PTPA spokesperson said in a statement that the filings reveal how tennis's corrupt governing bodies abuse, silence, and exploit players to drive personal profits through monopolistic control. The PTPA accuses the ATP, WTA, ITF, and the ITIA of working together as a cartel, including with one another, and in some cases with sanctioned tournaments to reduce competition and fix prize money. The suit claims that the big organizations within tennis suppress player income by not granting requests for increased prize money by some tournament owners and through forced NIL deals and a lower percentage of revenue sharing compared to other major pro sports. The suit also alleges privacy rights violations, specifically relating to drug testing and a disregard for player well-being due to the lengthy tennis season. 12 players are listed as plaintiffs in the U.S. filing, including Nick Kyrgios, Riley Opelka, Sorana Cirstea, and among others, of course. Allegedly, according to The Athletic, Novak Djokovic, who of course co-founded the PTPA, considered putting his name on the lawsuit, but declined to apparently focus action on the tennis players as a collective rather than make it more about him going up against these big organizations within the sport. Vasek Pospisil, PTPA co-founder and 2014 World and Doubles champion, said that they spoke to over 300 players prior to filing the suit and that all the players were supportive. Pospisil also implied that some players were too fearful to put their names on the suit. But Carlos Alcaraz made it clear in the press in Miami that he was not in support of the lawsuit. Alcaraz, as well as other top players like Coco Gauff and Iga Swiatek, were quoted in the 162-page filing. Specifically with Alcaraz, the PTPA included a quote that Carlos made during last year's Laver Cup where he said that the tours are going to kill players in some way due to all the tournaments going on and the mandatory tournament requirements. When Carlos was asked about the antitrust case in Miami, the world number 3 said, "Honestly, it was surprising for me because nobody told me anything about it, so I just saw it on social media." I saw that there were some statements that they put something that I said in the press conference, which I didn't know. I don't support that letter because, as I said, I didn't know anything about it. There are some things I agree with. There are some other things that I don't agree with, but the main thing here is that I am not supporting that. So that's it. It's interesting to me that Carlos came out and said, hey, I am not in support of this lawsuit because that goes directly against what Pospisil said, and that again, apparently every player was behind it. They just didn't want to put their names on it. And I'm sure definitely quite a few people feel the same way as Alcaraz, and they do not support this suit. This whole thing is very interesting. I'm curious to hear y'all's thoughts on it in the comments as far as the PTPA and them wanting to get the suit against the WTA and ATP. Both the ATP and WTA, the WTA specifically, they made a strong statement, against the PTPA's suit, saying that it was kind of, baseless and whatever else. I do think there are some things that need to be addressed that the PTPA is doing a good job about raising awareness about. Of course, tennis historically has been a sport that lags behind other pro sports in terms of players actually taking home a good portion of money. You see all these NFL and MLB players taking home multi-millions, but tennis players, even the top, they don't take away huge multi-millions in earnings. A lot of their earnings come from off-court endorsements and stuff like that. So I am curious to see what comes of this, if anything, of this lawsuit. This still is a developing story, so I will definitely keep you posted on what more players have to say, i.e. Novak Djokovic later on in the week. Focusing on the actual tennis now in Miami, Emma Raducanu scored her first win in the 305, dominating Sayaka Ishii 6-2, 6-1 to set up a clash of the Emmas, with her now taking on Emma Navarro on Friday in the second round. Raducanu also made headlines for parting ways with coach Vladimir Platinik after only a few weeks of working together. Raducanu's management made a statement that reads, "Emma and Vlado have parted ways. Emma has the utmost respect for Vlado and the work they started, but it wasn't quite heading in the right direction. Emma is now focused on doing as well as she can here in Miami after a solid start today and will continue to look for the right coach." I wonder what they mean by wasn't quite heading in the right direction, because these two only worked together for one tournament, which was at Indian Wells, so I don't know. But anyways, Platinik, he's worked with the likes of Daria Kasatkina, Lulu Soon, and Dominika Sibylkova, and he said a few weeks ago, actually, that he had expected to work with Raducanu at least until Roland Garros. Emma has the reputation, of course, we all know, of moving on from coaches very often. She is quick to let go of a coach if she feels like things are not working. Aside from her rather brief trial runs with coaches, she has had 6 full-time coaches in her corner over the course of her relatively young career. Emma has received quite a bit of flack for her latest coaching decision, but it must be said that she did want her last coach, Nick Cavaday, to stay on, but he was the one to kind of take a step back after the Australian Open due to health reasons. I don't know exactly why people get so riled up and so passionate about Emma's coaching switches. I feel like we should all be used to it at this point, and it really is, it's not the biggest deal. It shouldn't be impacting people that much to where they're getting upset and saying all this stuff about her. But anyways, right now Raducanu seems to be working with childhood mentor Jane O'Donoghue and LTA coach Colin Beecher, so I'll keep you updated on whenever Emma announces her next hire. Another notable day 2 Miami result was Nick Kyrgios earning his first singles win in 2.5 years after pulling off a comeback win over Maggie McDonald with a score of 3-6, 6-3, 6-4. This was a great win for Kyrgios, who has been struggling with a wrist injury for a while, as in Indian Wells, in fact, he retired mid-match against Botik van de Zandschulp due to a wrist problem. Nick said he got a little bit emotional and he was almost moved to the point of tears because he said he never thought he'd play tennis again at some point. Honestly, you know, good for him, and I hope for his sake that this win will give him more confidence to get even more wins. Nick now plays 22nd seed Karen Khachanov in the second round, who he lost to in a heartbreaking 5-set US Open quarterfinal back in 2022, so Nick is definitely going to be wanting to seek revenge here. Now, we have a few teenage wildcards in Miami, and they've been taking good advantage of the opportunities they've been given. First, 18-year-old Canadian Victoria Mboko earned her maiden WTA main draw win, defeating world number 54 Camila Osorio 7-5, 5-7, 6-3 in 2 hours and 30 minutes. Mboko came into this match riding high on confidence, as she was 27-1 this year on the ITF circuit, and she won 5 ITF titles. This was just her second WTA main draw match after she made her main draw debut at Granby in 2022. The Canadian had been plagued with knee injuries in 2023 and 2024, but we could see today how good she can be when she is healthy. She has such a big game with a lot of firepower off both wings, but that backhand in particular is deadly. It's a good weapon. She also has a good serve and overall a very strong athlete. She is going to be very, very good. I was very impressed with Mboko's composure too, because there are a lot of fans pulling against Mboko as the Colombians were full out in force in support of Osorio, but Victoria talked afterwards about how important it was for her to block all that out and focus on the fans that were supporting her, the Canadians. And even though Mboko reps Canada, she does have ties to the US, as she was born in Charlotte and she has 2 older siblings who play D1 tennis in the US. Victoria now plays 10th seed Paula Badosa. That's a great opportunity in my opinion. Paula has been dealing with a back injury that forced her to miss Indian Wells, so maybe she can get, you know, a good top 15 win. Another teen who earned their first tour level main draw win is 17-year-old Federico China, who defeated world number 67 Francisco Comensagna 7-6, 7-6. The Italian has been on a bit of a surge lately, as he won a Futures title a few weeks ago and then he just made a Challenger final this past week. Italy just keeps on pumping out these young talents, I swear. Up next for Federico is last year's finalist and world number 15 Grigor Dimitrov, so that is a great opportunity for the youngster. Another young gun, American Tyler Grant, played her first tour level main draw match against Julia Grabber, but the 17-year-old was unsuccessful, losing 6-4, 6-4. I think this match showed it was clear that Tyra is not yet ready for the big leads, but I think overall this was just a good opportunity for her to get some experience playing at this level. Fellow teen wildcard Alexandra Ayala won her third WTA main draw match. She defeated American Katie Volinets 6-3, 7-6. Just overall great for Ayala and great for the country of Philippines, as Alexandra is, Filipina, and just great for her that she continues to be a trailblazer for that country in tennis. Now, time to talk about the sisters. The sisters had some great comeback wins on day one on Tuesday. American Alicia Parks battled back from 3-6, 2-5 down against Varvara Krejcikova, and she saved a match point before sealing victory with a score of 3-6, 7-6, 6-3. Honestly, huge effort from Alicia. I did not expect her to come back. I was watching this match live, didn't expect her to come back and win this match at all. She was spraying a lot of unforced errors, but way to go and way for her to control it in the end to get her first win in Miami. And up next for her is 26 seed Leylah Fernandez, who she beat the last time they played actually at the Australian Open last year in the second round. So you never know, Alicia may be able to go 2-for-2 against Fernandez. Naomi Osaka, she followed Alicia with another comeback win of her own against qualifier Yulia Starodubtseva. After being down 3-6, 2-4, Naomi dug deep to claim a 3-6, 6-4, 6-3 win. This was a very important win for Osaka for sure. It was her first win since the Australian Open, and it was also great for her confidence to get back in the winner's circle, as she did suffer a loss at Indian Wells. So back-to-back losses at the Sunshine Double wouldn't have been great for her at all. Up next for her is 24th seed Ludmila Samsonova, who she has a 1-1 head-to-head record against. I think that would be a great big babe ball bashing affair. So we'll definitely want to watch for day 3. And Taylor Townsend, she came back from a set and a breakdown against compatriot An Lee. She too lost the first set 6-3, and she recovered from the early break deficit in the second set before coming out on top 3-6, 6-4, 6-2. This was Tay-Tay's first main draw singles win of the season, and she looks to keep it going against 19th seed Yulia Putintseva. Shout out to Haley Baptiste as well. She did not score a comeback win per se, but she did defeat Olga Danilovic in 3 sets, and she now plays 12th seed Daria Kasatkina. Rounding this video out, looking ahead to day 3, I want to highlight 2 intriguing upcoming matches. First, the battle between the young teen phenoms and Joao Fonseca and Leonard Tien. This has been a great start to the 2025 season for both young guys. Joao, he won his maiden ATP title in Buenos Aires, and also the 18-year-old won 2 challenger titles. Most recently, he picked up a challenger title in Phoenix just this past week. Tien, meanwhile, the 19-year-old made his first slam second week at the Australian Open, where he earned a win over Dino Medvedev, and then he earned a second top 5 win over Alexander Zverev in Acapulco. These two are also kind of similar in ranking. Fonseca is 60 in the world, and Tien is 66. They have opposite game styles, though. Fonseca, he's more of an aggressive baseliner with a huge forehand and strong serve. Tien, meanwhile, doesn't have a huge serve, and he's more of like a counterpuncher, but he's very consistent from the ground, not going to give opponents many easy points, and he's also pretty crafty too and has a good net prowess to him as well. This would be an interesting contrast of styles, and I'm definitely here for this matchup. Fonseca is going to be the favorite here, as he won their 2 meetings, which were both at the ATP Next Gen Finals. They met in the round robin stage and in the finals, where Fonseca took those matches in 4 sets. Although the format was different, it was 1st to 4 in those sets. I think regardless, it's going to be a good one. I see this one going 3, but I still got to stick with Joao to get the win in the end. Next, on the women's side, we have Coco Gauff going up against Sofia Kenin. Kenin already has a match under her belt. She defeated Petra Kvitova 6-4, 7-5. And Kenin said that she was nervous playing Kvitova because she really wanted badly to play Coco in round 2. So Gauff better be on her P's and Q's, because it seems like Sonia is going to be gunning for revenge here in this match. The head-to-head between these 2 women is tied at 2 apiece. Coco won their last meeting at the Australian Open this year at the first round. She won that with a score of 6-3, 6-3, although the match wasn't really high quality from really either woman. I do see Kenin coming out and taking a set against Gauff, but I think that Coco overall will be able to find a way in the end. So I have Coco taking this one in 3 sets. That is all I have for this video. Let me know your thoughts on the PTPA's lawsuit and whether you agree with, the intention behind it, or do you feel like it's not a smart idea. Also, what do you think about what we've seen in Miami? Do you have an issue with Raducanu switching coaches, or do you not really care? And if you got to see Victoria Mboko or Federico China, let me know your thoughts on their games and if you think they can be really great players in their careers later on. Also, give your own predictions for the upcoming Fonseca, Tien, and Gauff Kenin matches. Again, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I post more Miami Open updates. Thank you all for watching and for your support, and I'll see you all next time here on Christian's Court.